Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the NECC. Sorry for that delay. We're starting out on map number 2 here of our matchup. It's Texas A&M versus, I believe, Columbia University. First map, Joe, I believe, also went the way of Columbia, 7-4. Am I correct?
It did 7-4 on Cafe, which is actually Tamu's map pick. So Texas A&M lose their own map pick, have to go into Chalet, which is Columbia College's map pick, and take a win if they want to force it to game 3. A big one. Obviously, we don't have too much information on that map one. We were unable to watch it as well as you guys. But kind of going into it, I mean, these are two very good teams. So I'm really excited to watch this personally because I think these are two kind of more in the upper third of collegiate teams, and I think that's a really good spot to be. So I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah, and there you can see the Texas A&M, the Aggies lineup stringing acute manatee, tree planter, Intel 64, and Shopping. Indeed, they're playing in the Legend division here, Joe, so they are a bit of a stronger side. On the other side, you have Columbia, a program that has really been on the up and up. That's Ghostly, Gson, Landis, Nubs, and Phil right there.
Yeah, and I think Columbia College is still, like you said, on the up and up. And I think wins like this are ones that you really need to establish yourself as one of those top teams. And kind of look at the map veto, seeing where we were. Like we said, Cafe is over. We are not going to Cafe. That was a 7-4 victory from Columbia College. We are on Chalet. But kind of looking at this, I mean, I hate it. I always hate it. I really wish we could see the new maps in collegiate. I feel like we don't see that enough.
I think people just genuinely don't want to play them, which I mean, I get it, right? Like they are kind of intimidating, and I think some of them are definitely easier to learn than others and perhaps not conducive to more comfortable play, but it would be nice to see them. Chalet is getting to be pretty bread and butter for a lot of teams now, so should be interesting to see how Columbia handles that coming off the win on Cafe as well into their map pick, an opportunity for them just to kind of put this to bed, honestly.
I don't know. I think at least from when I said it, it's really hard, right? Because I think with Cafe, would kind of go into Chalet, right? I think for me at least, it's like it's hard because I really would have loved to see how these teams attacked and defended on Cafe to
Yeah.
be able to get more of a read on how Chalet is going to go, right? Because Chalet is traditionally more of an attacker sided map. So kind of seeing how teams could attack on Cafe, which is starting to shift more towards an attacker sided map. It would have been nice to see, right? It would have felt nice. I think kind of going off that information, if Columbia College was able to win Cafe, which is starting to take a more similar form of Chalet, I'd favor them on this map. Their map pick aside, but I don't know. I hate it. I hate that I don't have the info. It's like half of the things I'd want to say and I'd love to say right now, I can't.
Yeah, I mean it'll come to us. I think we'll probably see pretty quickly here on the start of Chalet what this is going to look like between these two teams and how they play off one another and play as organizations. I mean, we did say that Columbia is kind of on the up and up here. This is Legends Division. They are, I think, a good team, right? So we would expect them to be in a position where they have, I don't know, strategies above and beyond that of the normal bear, probably. I think too, looking at the rosters here, Texas A&M does not have a dedicated coaching staff. Columbia College does have a dedicated coaching staff. They actually have two coaches listed on their roster here on the NECC website. So that in and of itself probably gives them just a little bit of an advantage in the overall when push comes to shove sort of fighting.
I mean, it does for sure. I think to an extent, right, there is a cap of how much a staff can help, especially when you're playing maps like Cafe Chalet, Oregon. These are pretty default standard maps. There's not too much you can get, but what can be noted, right? If you have a coaching staff with you, someone in your corner where during timeouts, that extra voice to be able to kind of settle the nerves and just give you that extra talking point when you're in those timeouts and anything like that can really give you an advantage as a team. So you're right. Having that coaching staff, it may not be the craziest in like the strategical standpoint. There's not that much you can do on Chalet, but having that kind of person in your corner to be able to help out when times are not necessarily going that fantastic is really a good thing as we do see Wink and Dokkaby off the board. Nothing too crazy so far.
Yeah, these are very standard attacker bans on many maps, and it's not entirely surprising to see them go. Obviously, Ying has some good plays here on the attacking side. Fenrir being removed as well. That shouldn't shock anyone. He's a very strong defensive operator, one of the strongest in this day and age. Interesting because it does put Tamu in a bit of a jam. They're gonna have to figure out who they don't want to bring through, right? And a zombie would be kind of a straight up, but considering that Tamu is playing the defensive side first, no, they will not choose to have that advantage in their pocket. They will get rid of the Azami early on. So a standard operator ban phase, but of course, this means some very strong defensive operators are left on the field, irregardless of what comes up in those bans.
Yeah, and that's a lot of you have Valk and you have Solus on the board. That's a lot of things that IQ can really help with, but that's kind of two big things, right? There's a lot of information at the disposal of the defenders if they so choose to use it. It looks like they're not going to, but having that Valk and Solus on this map, especially one that is so small, the Valk cam's hard to spot. Solus really helps out in finding those flank cams, claymores, nomads, being able to make those aggressive plays on the defense can really help turn the tides of the defenders. But what we do see is a little bit more of a, I guess, utility-based defense from Texas A&M. You have the shields from the Frost. You have the Wamais to be able to protect the castles. You know, it is a very utility heavy. You don't always see that anymore, but I believe the DZ shield is going to come out. Yes, that's the holes being made. DZ shield is going to be that shield on that piano double door facing down the Ivy hallway and into piano. Can be very, very good, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it's as fantastic as defending Mez itself, but as Texas A&M have it, they have the Wamai to be able to protect it. The Aruna gates. You have as much as you want. Yeah, so much utility, but it looks like Columbia College might not even be pushing that side of the map at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting setup here, honestly. Looking at the way that they've kind of done it, usually maybe you'd see a little bit more of an extension. Oops, that's okay. We won't talk about this. There you go. You got it. It's a little bit more of a weird extension, if I'm being honest with you. Though I can kind of see what they're going for here. I think they might be a bit boxing themselves in. And I didn't actually get a good look if they honestly had like a roamer off somewhere. Looks like they're all kind of tied up here as well, which could have some disastrous consequences. I mean, that was a bold effort there by Phil, but Intel 64 picks that up and brings him down right away.
Man, one thing you also don't have right there is Phil putting down his Claymore. So if anybody else does hop out onto that balcony, onto the bathroom piano balk, that player, that run out is going to be wide open. But it looks like still they are going for that solar. So that window being open is enough as Nubs does find a kill. That's a big one for Columbia College to have. As the nade going to start going out, they're going to try and take this out position, maybe get themselves into solar. Nade does not hit. Stringy's still alive, and that's where having a player on bathroom would help oh so much. Stringy has so much room to operate over on this owl side to prevent Columbia from even pushing in to solar.
Yeah, Phil was maybe a little bit too bold in the early aggression right there, but they're making it work from the other side. Landis picking up a kill here, trying to force the issue on that Brava. Chopin now holding a bit of an unpleasant position here between piano and library corridors. Stringy just gets increasingly less and less likely to survive. Somehow still in it. Quick peeking the corner, nearly picks up the kill, but won't get it. Only a down. Jason drops him. Chapin now coming back on into it. What can he do? He can get one. Can he get three more, though? That's the real question. Fires some shots through the wall. Nothing comes of it. And there's Ghostly to finish it off. And the first round here falling to Columbia.
A great bounce back for them. They lost their player on that bathroom balcony, and that pressure allowed Stringy to stay alive for oh so long in that position and caused Columbia to not really be able to push into solar as easily as they would have liked. But they found a couple of picks in other places on the map. They had that pressure on big windows, so they still had the cross. The cut was still there. All they had to do was clear that player out. And the second that it was done, they got themselves into solar. The job was finished, and they were able to take the kills all throughout sight. They take their 1-0 lead, and again, you have Texas A&M going back to the top floor. And Corbec, to me, that shows maybe that lack of comfortability on this map, because I think, as we know, statistically, this is not a very good site.
No, it's not one of the best sites, right? Like, it's definitely considered to be. I mean, it kind of has a debated place. I think more and more, though, it's becoming the less good site, right? As an overall pick, good swap over, by the way, to the Solus. I think this does them a lot of credit here to get the Solus in, and it's probably honestly a better pick overall than the Legion they were running last
10
time
seconds
down
to go.
here in this area. Obviously, Acute Manity still playing off of the Legion, so
5
still
seconds left
providing the
before
goo mine kind of deterrent information gathering mechanic.
attackers'
But
objective is
Stringy
to
should be
locate a
able to
bomb
play
and
quite
defuse it.
well out of that kitchen position, which is where they did not get a lot of production last time.
Yeah, and I think that is a slight change. Looks like Columbia College is going to do something similar. And they brought out an identical comp, right? So can't be too much. I mean, the only difference is you have nubs on a knock instead of the Iana. I think that was the only change, right? Yeah, I think it is. And Phil gonna find the opening kill this time instead of dying early. That's a big change. Columbia College do have that pressure onto the balcony this time, and not just that pressure, Corbec, but an opening pick to go along with it.
Yeah, 100%. And there you go. Stringy already getting value right here. Playing off of this. Going to go ahead and rotate, I think, downwards as well. Knows he's got a target underneath. That's Nubs, who's creeping forward. Completely cover blown on the Nook. So it should be an easy pickup here for Stringy, assuming they can just land their shots. Waiting patiently to find it. And unfortunately, the Nook does not oblige them by stepping out into their sightline. Keeping it even there. And there's the kill by Nubs onto Intel 64. Nubs probably doing a little bit more than they should. Stringy will get one. Stringy will find the second. So the Soul is paying dividends down there in the kitchen, picking up multiple kills early on.
And having that player downstairs is still going to hurt. What they do know, though, is that it is going to be a 2v2 on site. If they can deal with these players over towards side, it might be a big spot for them. It's going to be a lot of weight on Ghostly's shoulders to be able to open up this play for Jason to actually hop on in. They get the information of the castle and where he is positioned at. The repellent comes through, but still more work to be done. They need to find a pick. They need to find an avenue in to the site, and that is not going to be any easier for them as Tree Planter takes down Ghostly, and it's Jason now left in a 1v3.
Now, Tree Planter here, just pushing up a little bit, shopping. Alone again, naturally. Jason on the other side. Yeah, well, this is going to be one hell of a trick if he can pull himself out of this one. No joke. I don't necessarily see how he's going to be able to do that, but stranger things have certainly happened. Beautiful shot there onto Shopping. And that just leaves two. Stringy's at a little bit of a low health here. Tree Planter still at full. Tree Planter swings and dies, and suddenly the 3v1 to a 1v1 as G-Sin's going to go ahead and slam the plant down. And I don't think Stringy quite realizes what's happening, but it is a fake coming off of G-Sin, so G-Sin will hold on, then goes for yet another plant. Stringy there pulls up the visor, gets a good idea of what they're looking for. Blind spray in, sees the Hibana before they see her. And that is the kill right there. G-Sin dropped. Good effort, though. Good effort.
It was a good effort. So close to making it happen. And you saw the impact. I mean, you noted it, right? Right when the pick was out, the Solus came through. That is a big 3 kills. And denying that information and just having that ability to play below a little bit more and deny that entry, deny that space for Columbia College to take, it made a very big difference, as you see. And even though it did get down to a 1v1, having that 3v1 situation at all to begin with is a big step. And they are going to opt to not bring it out again. And once again, move more towards that utility based. We'll see if it has a similar outcome to how it went down in that first round when they opted to go for a utility based defense on that master site, or if it's just a difference in the play style that is enough for them.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Well, down we go to a different bomb site, and probably a good call right here. I mean, they had to do it, but going to one of the strongest sites here, or the strongest site, I would argue, which is Bar Gaming. Of course, that does sort of depend on if you set it up right, but from everything that is being indicated here by Tamu, they are going to set it up just right. They've got the shield with the Wamai extending out there into the library corridor, makes it a little bit harder for someone to assert their position in the library. And then, of course, you've got the mute added in here as well to just sort of slow down some drones and some pushes.
You know what I think?
What's
I
up?
think this Warden is going to have huge impact on this round. I feel like the Brava,
Could very well.
obviously the Brava is going to have that impact through the lobby side, but I feel like the Warden at the very least, just from what we could possibly see, is going to be in a great spot. You have him playing from so deep, so you have kind of in a spot, unless he rotates. I hope he doesn't. I hope Piano is the spot that he stays. I don't know. I can't see it. It's all good. It's the Brava now doing the damage. Lobby. I love doing this, right? Getting rid of the cams, grabbing it for yourself, doing what you can. And even though, you know, they may shoot it right away, having that just taken off the board so easily, that lobby info really opens up that lobby push. But you have Nubs already taking the dining area of the map. That is so much area of the map now for Columbia College to work with. And now, really for them, they can make any play that they want. They have so much control. Look at Tamu. Completely backed down in this portion of the map. Columbia College now can start working themselves to start pinching it out and taking all the control that is given to them and start working these picks very easily here.
They could indeed, and a good hack right there on the camera. And that'll give them some much-needed info there for assaulting these defensive positions. An ugly face-to-face fight there that Cute Manatee will win. But they will sacrifice about half their health to do so. Nubs is in down below, though. Takes Tree Plinter out and goes to try and find a second one. Shooting up through the floorboards as well, but can't confirm the kill onto Cute Manatee as Chapin doubles back. Cute Manatee will drop. That's Jason claiming the kill. And that leaves more and more members of Tamu being burned away until finally it's just Chapin, again, alone again, naturally. Holding on right here. He's in a 3 or 4v1. Nearly picks one up. Can't find it again. The carbine not doing him any favors. And Nubs swings and picks him off behind the bar. And another decisive attacking round here for Columbia.
Yeah, I think they're just playing an outdated style of Chalet, right? Just kind of sitting back, giving up all that control. Columbia recognized that they were kind of isolated just inside the library area. They didn't really hold anywhere else. Nobody dining side, nobody master side. Piano at all, even in the basement. Everything was at the disposal of Columbia. And even though they didn't get that opening pick, still the pressure that they had across the map was enough to start working those picks back. And you saw the gaps, right? The lobby area, the dining spots. Nubs was just able to just walk right through and just find a pick in sight with nobody doing anything about it. That's not something you should allow to happen. And I expect if they do go back to that site later on, they make a tweak and just not leaving lobby oh so open.
Indeed. Switching bomb sites now over to kitchen dining, Joe. They're going to try something a little bit different. And all right, fair enough. If they feel more comfortable trying this is still going to require an extension on the top floor, though. Whether they like that particular aspect of it or not, they will have to do it. Shop in there, securing things on that castle. Again, brought back into the fold. You're also looking at a relatively similar lineup, except to the other sites, except for Intel coming in on the Goyo. So adding full cats to the mix.
Yeah, it's just so utility based. There's no Valk. Valk is up. You have the Solus, which show like in the one round that they won was the major reason they won it. And I'm a little curious as to why they moved away from that direction when so far it's the only thing that has worked for them. And we'll see if Columbia College will continue to kind of punish Tamu for not taking these operators ghostly. Now again, another opening pick for Tamu, their third of the map thus far, yet to make a huge impact on the scoreboard though.
Chopin walks up, gets a second, a double kill here early on. The UMP 45 just chattering away right there to let him pick up another. He's now checking over the windows of the solarium. There is Jason just outside of him, but a Cute Manatee with the silent shot picking up the kill on the Nubs. You don't see that very often.
And who needs utility when they don't even get into the map at all? Lovely work from Tamu to change the pace completely and push it a little bit, up the tempo a little bit. I like it. The change in play style is enough. And they're going to at least look to put themselves at 2-2 here, and a big responsibility for Jason and Lambus. I mean, we've seen Jason be able to make something happen before, and that 1v3 almost brought it back, but still, in this moment in time, not going to be the easiest push for them to make the vertical holes there utility on the staircase. Whatever they decide to do here, there's going to be information on it, and that's the beauty of the Legion.
It is, yeah, definitely the beauty, the quote, the beauty of the Legion. Love to see it. And we'll see what Jason can do now, creeping up the stairs. Holding kind of a downish position, though. Nothing really walking into the gun sight. And that's what Jason can do. They can drop and die. Intel in position as well, but it's a flawless round as Shoppin picks up the final kill through the floorboards.
Yeah, big round for Shoppin as well. And that's what Texas A&M has had, right? In their 2 round wins, they had Stringy with the 3K on the Solus and then Master Defense. And this time, Shoppin getting 3 of his own to tie us up. And unfortunately, that's not something you can truly rely on. But from what I could see, I really like the tempo change from Tamu. That's something that they at least looked much more comfortable with. And at least Columbia, I should say, not looking as comfortable in that situation, not having time to set up their pushes, their angles, really work the map, not getting that moment of comfortability in that first 45 seconds to the minute of the round to completely set themselves up in their positions. That's something that Tamu looked to exploit, and they were able to do that to such a good degree. And if they can continue to do that and make Columbia College force them to make decisions at split seconds, right? Not just have the entirety of the round to set up their push and make that execute. Really just have those moments where, okay, where someone's swinging here, someone's swinging here. We have to push this now. Making them make those split second decisions and forcing them to make them just really at a very fast pace is not what Columbia College has really excelled in thus far in this game. So good adjustment for Tamu.
Attackers must locate and
Good adjustment indeed. Shopping here, reaching for that proximity alarm. Took him a couple of goes, but he finally gets it down. And I mean, as much as Columbia College has looked decisive on a couple of their attacks, they just seem kind of unable to pull ahead of Tamu right here. I think despite their sort of better effort. Phil standing up there, firing through the wall. Is not going to get anybody on that, but I guess he keeps him guessing. Got a couple of different angles he can try here as well. Nubs is also taking a bit of a different position. They're just attempting to, I think, set up a 2-pronged attack and a more aggressive attack pattern coming straight in through the door. Good kill by Landis right there. Good drone work to set it up. Shoppin had no idea what was coming his direction.
Yeah, but they're still going to need to capitalize on this, right? They have the information on Tree Planter, who is alone upstairs on his own. The hatch not open either, so there's no help for this player upstairs. And realistically, they don't even have to push this anymore if they wanted to. They have everything lobby side, but look at this, just pressure everywhere. Stringy going to find one on the solar side. That's Ghostly, and I'm really hoping Columbia College flip the push here because they are starting to run into some obstacles that they may not have to have if they push the other side, but it's going to be too late. Tree Planter on the Frost finds the kill on the windows, and that is so much pressure alleviated, and Columbia College completely back to square one as the pressure that they have is simply not enough at this moment.
Landis sending out the ping right there, throwing a couple of flashbangs, taking some huge damage. That allows Nubs to push through and secure a kill on the Tree Planter. Nubs now up by Piano, looks across towards Master, but it's Stringy who steps up to the plate and attempts to get the drop. Nubs just getting incredibly aggressive, is killed by a point-blank impact grenade from Stringy. An awkward gunfight to say the least. And there's Jason to get the revenging kill almost immediately. Unfortunately, Acute Manatee will put Landis down, and that's just going to leave Jason all alone. Now, the question is, do you go for the plant here? They will. Jason slamming the plant down as Intel creeps up for the kill. Intel stepping right up to the door, and Jason looks the wrong direction.
That's just tough, right? Again, for Columbia College, they had every single thing you would ever need to just put the bomb down in office. Everything was there. They had the control. They had Piano. The only player that was on site at all that could do anything about it was the player inside of Closet, but that's not an issue. You have Piano control. You could just walk right on through and put the bomb down. The C4 can't go out. You have a player downstairs putting pressure on that player inside of Dining. Just switch the push and put the bomb down. That is the thing that Tamu is exploiting from Columbia College. their inability to
Attackers need to
adjust
locate
on the
and
fly.
defuse.
When you make this team make decisions, they have struggled immensely thus far, and a great job from Tamu again to force them into that situation and capitalize on the opportunities they're giving themselves.
Couldn't agree more, but really now it behooves Columbia College to get a 3-3 out of this attacking half. I really don't think they want to drop. Phil switching over to the Flores, the first time that we've seen that operator making an appearance here, Joe, and a good operator it is on this site in particular.
10 seconds remaining.
Obviously, Tree Planter on the mute could slow it down a little bit, but if he doesn't place his jammers in the right place, you can actually take out a lot of this defensive setup with just one Flores, one, I guess, set of Rateros. You look at that shield where it had the double setup there of the ADSs, and that can go down very quickly and essentially make that position untenable for Stringy if they do this right.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I think what was that smoke coming out earlier? Was that an accident? Or was that a quick play? I saw smoke come out from Landis on the bottom right of the screen. So I was wondering if there was a quick play coming through lobby. And maybe there was. He unfortunately died. Look at that. That's insane. I don't know what he was cooking, but he was cooking something. But Columbia College do bring out something else differently, and Nubs gonna have an opportunity to get that kill back as Dining was given up again, but not able to convert on it. That is the Jaeger of Intel staying alive, and the reverse card is there. Acute Manatee finding a kill himself, and Columbia College again in a tough spot and facing a 4-2 deficit at the end of their attack split on Chalet.
Freaked out for a second there. I saw Intel running in. What is this? Nubs is charging Stringy down again. That's actually the second time we've seen that happen. Wild that it's happened twice, honestly. Cute Manatee here holding up by Fireplace. Nearly gets flashed, but it's off. Nubs is the one who's trying to engage. Nubs can't find the kill. That is unfortunate, because Acute Manatee is holding on by an absolute sliver of health. Phil sending in yet another Flores drone before entering himself, and Acute Manatee has peeled all the way back, and Columbia running out of gas here on this last bomb site. Phil steps up and gets absolutely shredded by Intel on the stairs.
They're just doing, besides a couple of pop switches, they're doing the exact same things. There's no adjustments being made from Columbia College and Tamu. Again, I mean, the praise is going to be there because respect where respect is due. They're making the adjustments and playing off of the habits of Columbia College, and that's where these early picks are coming through, because Columbia College, it's just becoming predictable. And on the defense, maybe that's not going to be something. You have the Solus brought out. That's a very dynamic operator. But, I mean, from the attacks, it's just not enough changes for Columbia really to put Tamu on a back foot at all. It was Tamu on the front foot the entire time. They were the ones who had the information, knew what they were doing, knew what needed to get done, and were able to capitalize. We'll see if Columbia can change that on the defense and play a little bit more dynamic, especially now having the Solus and even the Valk at their disposal.
Indeed. And it's... Chalet has been one of those maps that has kind of existed as sort of, it goes either way, right? But I think in general, it does tend to favor the defender just a little bit more. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of Columbia College, this probably isn't the worst thing. I mean, a 4-2 is not ideal, but it's certainly salvageable here for them. And I do wonder if they showed a good amount of structure, right? I would argue they showed a good amount of structure on the attacking half. I think their issue was more they were struggling with their actual engagements, right? Like every once in a while somebody would go early or something like that, but the plan is definitely there. I wonder if maybe the defense will help curtail their more wayward desires a bit, make this a little bit easier for them.
Yeah, and I think the structure is a very good thing, but a map like Chalet, structure does not necessarily exist to an extent, right? I mean, it's great to have because you have the ability to play off of each other, play together. That team play is a very important thing. But Chalet, more than any, I mean, the meta itself alone, let alone on Chalet, is very dynamic. You have to be able to make plays and change certain things up. And that's just not something that they've been able to display thus far. We'll see if Texas A&M are able to do that on their defenses. But Nubs looking to get aggressive here, not able to do it. It's another opening pick for Texas A&M. Intel finds it, maybe typing up something right here. Yeah, that is an insanely valid statement coming out of Intel 64 on the Habana.
Too true, too true. Jason here waiting. Phil, the point of engagement, playing that position that's usually held by Wamai, being filled by the Doc instead. Phil's been having a bit of a rough go of it, but so has Ghostly here on the Warden. Good crossfire angle there for Ghostly, who's forced to reposition over to Library, and that is not a safe place. Humanity, they're going for the shots, but it's Tree Planter who gets the initial hits. Tree Planter trying to fire some rounds down range to see if they can catch the movement of the Warden out. It does not work. Phil's still holding on up here, but this is just an ugly gunfight up here around the Library corridor.
And the good news is they are still holding strong, and you have the Solus getting ready to make the play, and I think it was sniffed out. You have the Gridlock repositioning over there, but that is a bad pick to give up. That is the Mez player down. Phil gonna have so much responsibility on the upstairs to make something happen, but that's just so much pressure. You got rid of the player that is difficult to clear, and now all down. These players more towards the site as the Solus not able to make a play. There's only 40 seconds. Gonna have to go huge and at least do something more towards the main side, but it looks like that play is gonna be stopped from the sledge, and that's an opportunity for a pick back. Not gonna get it. 30 seconds left. Tamara, they do need to push towards site, Corbec, but at the moment, they have the man advantage of Columbia College back down into a corner.
Yeah, they do, and this is rough. Columbia College needs the W here. They really do. They do not want to drop to 5-2. 2 quick kills picked up, though. G-Sin putting in a hell of a shift on the defense right there, but they'll get picked off in turn. Tree Planter on that one. Chapin catches Landis rotating. Tree Planter slamming the plant down. Phil gets one. Phil cannot get the second one. And this is looking worse for wear here for the side of Columbia. Not how they needed this map to go.
Running out of gas might have been a very, very accurate statement from you. It just looks like at least the win that was in their sails in the first 3 rounds, maybe from Columbia, and at least that was on map 1. I mean, they won Cafe, they won Texas A&M's map pick, and it just feels like the wind in their sails is just completely vanished as they do take a timeout. That support staff going to be able to have a little bit of an impact that we noted on before this map begun, and we'll see how useful that staff is to them. But I got to ask you, Corbec, what needs to change from this Columbia College roster?
You know, it's a really good question because we kind of been watching them flounder for the last couple of rounds, and the defense didn't really necessarily change that. One of the things that I think they are falling prey to, and it was a little bit apparent on the offense, but I felt like it was really apparent on the defense, is that they simply aren't playing together very well. Like the trade game does not particularly feel like it's there for Columbia College right now, and I think that discrepancy in the kill counts that you can see on the bottom of your screen right there, switch back, sort of speaks to that, Joe. Like there is very little coverage, right? Like if somebody gets taken out on the Columbia College side, we're not seeing, you know, Ghostly die and the Nubs immediately follow it up to get the trade back or to at least put pressure on. Even in the crossfire angle upstairs in the library hallway that we spent a goodly amount of time on last round, you never felt like you were in a particular position where any of the defenders could kind of swing back in the event that one or the other of them died. So I feel like that's something that they really need to work on.
Yeah, kind of going back as well, how they lost opening pick in that first defense round, in this previous round. I mean, I did slander a little bit. I like the play, right? You're isolating a hard breach player on their own for a free 1v1. If you take down that Habana, that is a huge pick to obtain, just not executed to perfection, right? Or really well at all. And I think Columbia College might have the idea of certain things that need to get done, but the execution thus far has not necessarily been there, and maybe that timeout should be enough for them to be able to kind of regain themselves and kind of get back to more of their peak performance levels. But I don't know. I'm not sure how much is going to change in such a close period of time, but I think having that support staff is going to be a big deal. We'll see how much of the impact is early. Nothing really big on their changes. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same setup and the exact same comp. I just wonder if Landis is going to get a little more aggressive earlier in the round with that Solus and try and get a little more value out of it.
Ghostly setting up here on the landing yet again. Tree Planter, the one who's going to play into that. He's got a little bit of backup there in the form of shopping. Stringy's got a good angle here as well, and a couple of shots there won't quite secure a kill, but they certainly let Ghostly know that they're in some serious danger if they stay in that spot. Ghostly's challenging. That's a bold challenge, and there's a humanity to finish it off. Ghostly's bravery paid back with a kill from another unexpected angle. Now things becoming a little bit more difficult. The track's thrown out right there to cover the stairs leading up to the landing.
Recovered their diffuser.
And it's Nubs still holding a library corridor. That's a significant check that they're going to have to get through. But with Landis down as well, it really does feel like the wheels are coming off, and Phil gets caught. A triple kill for Acute Manatee before Nubs can finally stem that bleed.
3 kills from the slant window is insane. And that's Tamu just going in much of the same of what we've seen thus far. It's going to be Nubs going to have to ace a 1v4 to save his team and salvage at least something. Gonna find another one, actually. It's only a 1v2 now. Case is now down. I'm not sure that's gonna be information available to him, but a good spot thus far. Nubs actually making this in reach. This is not a terrible situation at all, and a very winnable round for him.
Very winnable indeed, and one that they should win. Nubs here, pushing up the stairs. He's got the tracks to deal with, and what a shot by Stringy right there. Just clips the side of Nubs' head, and that's all they needed. 6 and 2, and a complete reversal from the 7-4 of the previous map here, Joe.
Yeah, it's a very large, I mean, it's not like we can really say what was going on with map 1 and how much of a disparity this is between the two maps, but Columbia College, those first couple rounds were great, but again, it is a lack of being able to make adjustments on the fly. 3 players, Corbec, 3 died to slant window. Do you know how you prevent that from happening?
Don't walk in front of slant window.
Well, perhaps you could go piano. You could hop out bathroom. You could hop out big garage. You could hop out West Main, even peak West Main window at all. 4 things that they could do when they have a Solus with impact who could do all of those things and see where the information is. But instead, just not really being in a very, I guess, active spot to be able to be completely useful, and just allows the Buck to kill 3 people. That is not an okay thing to happen. And again, really underlines the issues that Columbia College have been having on this map, and that's just not being able to make any adjustments as to what Tamu has been throwing at them. And again, credit to Tamu, they haven't had to change what they're doing, and they've been good at finding the gaps that Columbia College is oh so gifting them. But Columbia College have to do something to change what's going on, because at this moment in time, this is just not good enough. And when it's not good enough, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again.
You're right, and that is unfortunately one of the perils of Rainbow Six Siege that a lot of teams will fall into, is just a consistent pattern of repetition, right? You just keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't work. And I think that there's a very cliche quote about that being the definition of insanity or something like that. I'm not going to bring it up.
Trying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
it'll have a different result.
I don't know. That's one of those ones where it gets attributed to everybody. Like Albert Einstein said that, but also Isaac Newton or some shit. Anyway, Tree Planter doing a little bit of drone work here, and look at this, kind of bunched up. I said they needed to play together, Joe. I didn't mean quite that close together.
They're right on top. They're holding hands now. They heard you loud and clear, and that's okay. And I think at least this is a little bit more of an aggressive thing, but I think Columbia College, this kind of setup relies on them winning fights, and so close to taking Intel's head off. Not able to get it done. Land is going to be cleared out at least a little bit, but I mean, that didn't seem like the smartest thing to do. It's not the smartest thing I've seen all day.
It's not. It's not. That's okay though. You know, it's a learning process. What's fascinating to me, and I'm not going to dog on Columbia too much, but it is interesting that this is their map pick, and it feels like they have just not been in command on this map at all. So it's a bit of a reversal of experiences here, I guess, as Shoppin picks up G-Sin, and this just goes from bad to worse here. Tambu playing out of their minds on this map. It's like they have a crystal ball. They just see every single thing that Columbia is going to do and take steps accordingly. Nubs here trying to get the headshot. He can't even find it. He just hits the shoulder, and that is so frustrating here for Nubs, who's 10-7, has been doing quite well as things go, but just cannot stem the tide of unrelenting aggression from Tamu.
Yeah, now having to give up upstairs, they're going to need at least a pick or two here. And Ghostly does have that C4 to work with. That should at least net them a kill. As the smoke grenade does go out.
Attackers have dropped.
C4. No, Nub's actually going to find a kill from a pre-fire through the doorway, but not able to win the fight. Ghostly not able to do it as again. Nubs in a huge clutch situation. All those smokes coming through. It's just going to be too much, and that's shopping. Finding the kill. A 7-2 victory on Columbia College's map. What happens when we go on stream? A complete 180 from what happened so far in this series, and we're going to be going to Oregon. Map 3 on the way, Corbec.
Map 3 on the way, and I don't think Columbia expected that coming into it. A heck of an effort right there from Tamu to throw their way forward into that one, because after the 7-4 on Chalet, that could have been done and dusted for them right there, but not the case, Joe. They're back in it.
Yeah, they're back in it. I thought, I mean, going up, winning your opponent's map pick 7-4, kind of that early on, it kind of puts you in a little bit of a, not the best position to be in. And then you go to your own map pick and get absolutely dog walked like that. It wasn't even close. Like, I mean, the first couple of rounds, great, the 2-1 up,
rough.
sure. But after that, it was a complete 180. It was like a flip switched in Tamu, and it was a new Tamu, not one we'd seen at least so far. I mean, obviously, it was only 3 rounds that we got to see, but it's completely new Tamu than what we had seen those 3 rounds, and completely catching Columbia College off guard. And they're not going to have a lot of time before they get into this map 3, and Columbia College have to get themselves back into form if they want to prevent this series from slipping away.
Yeah, 100% couldn't agree more. And we'll see whether Columbia College can get their mojo back or whether Tamu will just continue that pain train right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
And welcome back, everyone. We have a map 3 ready to serve to you on a silver platter. We have Texas A&M Maroon versus Columbia College. Map 3 Oregon on the way. I am Joe. This is Corbec. Corbec, I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting development, honestly, Joe, because based off what happened on the first map, which we didn't get to see, but we knew the score lineup, and we were going into Columbia's map pick. I think we both kind of expected it to be Columbia was able to walk it in, but Tamu showed some serious resiliency and some serious good play, honestly, and really put Columbia on their back foot, right? A little bit disjointed from the Columbia side, and Tamu just took advantage of that again and again and again. Going over to Oregon, this is as bread and butter as it gets, right? This is basic Siege at its most simple, straightforward style. Not to say that it's not complicated, but you know what I mean, Joe. And this is a good map for both of these teams to be on in this situation.
Yeah, I think Columbia College, right? The structure that was hurting them so much on Chalet is not going to hurt them so much on Oregon. Obviously, you still need that kind of dynamic playmaking ability here and there on every map. That's just how the meta has evolved over time. But I think that structure will help them a little bit more. They do start on the attacking side, so we'll see early on how that structure is going to go for them. But Texas A&M, they were able to make the adjustments on the last map in their play style, so we'll see if they're able to adjust early on to what Columbia College on Oregon, as these bands look very familiar.
Right. Yeah. The bands do, in fact, look familiar. And I think we might be seeing perhaps a repeat of it. Let's see if the last one comes through here from Tamu to maintain. And he's saying, now they're thinking about it. I'll give them that. I thought we were going to get it right off the rip. But no, they take the whole time before they set us back to where we were. So here we go again.
It's a little, we got a little time machine or something. Are we back on that too? What's going on? What's going on? It's crazy. But once again,
standard bands, standard map.
The note is that Solus and Valk are both up. I think Valk, it's weird because it's finally being brought out now. We didn't see it at all on Chalet. I'd argue that Valk might be stronger on Chalet than this map, but as we see from Texas A&M, bringing out both the Valk and the Solus. That, to me, shows their willingness to get a little frisky with it. Oh, why did they do that? I hate when that happens. Switching off on it last second.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Yeah, what you gonna do? It is the way it is. Up to the second floor we go for this deciding map between these two sides. Stringy there throwing up the defenses, and it's a fairly straightforward defensive sort of setup here for the team. Interesting, they bring the mute along again. They do quite like the mute, and I agree, by the way. It's a great idea for Intel to bring the Valkyrie here since she is available. That said, the one operator in here I think they are lacking that they definitely could have gotten value out of was, as always, the Solus in this lineup would have done them a world of good instead of having Intel 64 trying to hunt down drones by eyesight.
Yeah, I think having that kind of ability for the Solus to be able to see at least where these flank cams are, right? And I think that was one thing that they didn't really use over on Chalet. And I don't think anybody really did. They weren't really using Solus to make plays. And I think that's kind of where her abilities lie, and that's kind of where her strengths really are, is the ability to make plays, finding those flank drones, finding the openings, the gaps, because there are gaps. It's not like they don't exist. So kind of having that ability to make a play on Oregon, kind of having the attackers always have to keep their eyes open and aware of the possibility of that to happen is enough for me, enough impact for me. But you have Columbia College kind of going more towards a downstairs, a big window take as Phil now walking straight through into Z. Shots are going to go out, so his position is going to be known as the mute of Tree Planter, going to be forced right on back into security. And a little bit of a stronghold here for him with a shotgun and the mute chamber's walls reinforced. It's going to be a tough position for them to clear if they also choose to go for this.
Oh, a good attempt there to destroy, and Manatee almost dies for the effort. You gotta love the fact that that was their own Volcon that inflicted that level of suffering right there. Forced to fall back, does actually manage to get the denial though, but that's not gonna stop Columbia from trying again if they want. Tree Printer down here staging a really strong defensive side, swings out and absolutely cleans the clock of Ghostly, who in turn had already got cute Manatee there. And it's fast and furious action across the board. Stringy is caught looking. Big swing from Intel to find Landis, and that was an outlandish set of kills right there.
That was crazy. And oh goodness,
what?
Phil just catches Tree Planter off guard. They completely forgot there was another player below. They are aware that there is a player more towards bunks, and Jason's gonna have that area, and Phil gonna find it. That's gonna be Intel taken down, and completely out of nowhere, a 3v2 that looked oh so dominant for Texas A&M is now Columbia College flipping the script and being in a 2v1. That smoke gonna go out, gonna block it off, but Chopin, a beautiful play for him to work his way straight on through, and he finds both. Chopin clutches out the 1v2. Texas A&M bring it right back towards their way and say not so fast to Columbia College. They take the opening round of map 3.
Wow, a wild round there, and Tamu winning it out at the end. That's got to be a little bit frustrating for Columbia College, because I feel like they were doing a pretty good job there for a while, but things just sort of not working across the board. And this is actually what I was going to talk about, so I'm glad it got brought up. The lack of, consistent roam clear and awareness here on the side of Columbia, I think, was what doomed them. And Tamu playing off of that perfectly. I mean, Chopin just sort of waiting for the targets to come to him. He's not droned out in that particular scenario, though certainly they know danger is there. And for the Tamu side, I mean, that's just easy cleanup kills.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at least for me, right, Columbia College, again, they are really good at establishing the pressure of where they need to be, and they got that, really what they needed to do done. I mean, obviously they didn't really get much done over towards the master and trophy side of things, but either way, they had everything clear downstairs that they really needed to. They just struggle sometimes to understand what to do with it. But to me, that round was a lot better than what we were seeing on Chalet. So even though they do lose that round, I think that's a really big step up and a good sign if you are a Columbia College fan.
Objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
We wait here as we go into another attacking round, and really the onus on Columbia College to show us something here to win this out, because they cannot I mean, they can, but I think it would be not good for them to not even this up right now with Tamu on this second defensive site. Now they go on to the tertiary after this, and naturally they'll have a much better chance of evening it up there, but I think for their own mental well-being, this would be a good one to do it. And I just find it wild, by the way, as much as I admire the pick, that Acute Manatee is using that shotgun. Honestly,
I love it.
wild.
I love it. It's meta.
Attackers recover
That's
the
like
bomb
probably the worst shotgun in the game, so I'm impressed that Acute Manatee has
No.
literally managed to get as much value out of it as they have.
The shotgun itself is good, statistically. It's just, why would you bring it when the Super Shorty is also an absolute machine, and you also have the T5? Like, that's kind of the one issue, right? You have a Super Shorty. You don't necessarily need this, but from what I've seen, statistically, this gun is not too shabby. So, for it to have, it's not common that it's brought out, but for it to have the impact from Acute Manatee kind of coming out, not too unheard of, is just so weird to see it, right? Just so odd. Well, this is going to be the prowess right here. Lovely. Look at
He's
that.
going to get another one, and he will. Look at
That's
that.
lovely.
Acute Manatee just dropping two. If he gets one more off of that, I will be absolutely flabbergasted. He nearly gets Ghostly
He's
right
yes,
there.
he gets
Ghostly
that.
will survive. Ghostly walking into some goo mines there, so slowing down the attack, but at least it's being kept at a 4-4 here, Joe.
Yes, sir, it is. And that is a good trade for them to have. Nubs, who was their impact player on Chalet, really the only shining light for Columbia College on that second map, does get taken down, but still, getting rid of that Legion, getting rid of that position is a big thing for them. They have freezer control for the most part, as Phil now finds another one over towards Pillar, and that is a man advantage for them. 50 seconds left on the clock. Has a smoke to work with if they want to go for this execute. And looks like just now they are about to be set up for it. That smoke is actually going to cover, and that's going to be a one-way for Tree Planter if he wants to get aggressive here. Shoppin does find one. The think of Ghostly going to start moving in, but Shoppin doesn't matter. Finds a second one in the push. Completely disjointed. That's two players pushing elbow before anyone was ready at all. And again, the script has been flipped as Shoppin again finds another one, and that is 3 1v1s. And Corbec, I will let you grill them for the things that I want to say that I won't at this moment, as Texas A&M poised to take another round.
I mean, I must give some credit to Shoppin here, who's been playing great, honestly, and just following up these kills, picking good angles, and playing out of it. You know, Tamu really looking solid on these defensive halves. I think Columbia's biggest problem right now, and something that they can fix, to be fair, is just an intel gathering issue. I feel like we've seen multiple situations in which Columbia College players have pushed into dangerous situations, and they've been hit from off angles. You know, they're looking right, they should have been looking left. Now, whether or not that is an issue of, you know, speed, timing, or, you know, intelligence gathering, or all three, I mean, the good news for them is that I think that's a relatively fixable problem, Joe. Like, you just need to work on, I think, their drone game a little bit more. The drone denial from Tamu has been solid, but I do not think it has been so strong that it should actively prevent them from getting any traction whatsoever, and it just feels like they're going in blind a lot of the time.
And I think you're right. I think the timing was definitely the big thing, right? I think, obviously, if that smoke lands on the head holes, the Jackal's able to push. And the smoke not only didn't land on the head holes, but it actually created a one-way for the defenders on those stairs, making that position for the Jackal not pushable at all. He starts pushing that, he's dead. Like, the second he puts himself on that platform, he dies. So, obviously, the push, the execute can't come through, or if they do want to go for the execute, they have to double drop the hatch and not have a player T1. That's not an ideal execute position. So, I think the message was just not very well received from those players on the bunker door, them pushing a little bit too early when the rest of the team wasn't ready. And I think the hatch player knew, because the hatch player didn't drop, but you know, that lack of timing will make all the difference in those situations. And as we go to the tertiary site with meeting, I think this is a must-win for Columbia College, right? They've really struggled on their attacks. They haven't looked necessarily spectacular on these two rounds thus far. And on a map like Chalet, that was their own pick. That's an attacker-sided map. Only a 2-4 split and not the best message, at least from me, that I've gathered from that thus far. So a big round for them to at least get something going on this map 3, because as it stands right now, it is not going well. And Intel again with the question mark. Tough scene.
I mean, again, it's not like there's obviously thought. Like, it's not as if Columbia is just running in blindly, like without any plan, right? They're not trying to free for all this, but it feels like they are getting caught in situations where they are genuinely caught looking. And Nubs, I think, kind of benefits from one the opposite direction right there. But look, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, get 2 kills, which is great stuff. You don't know that Intel is there. Intel picks up another kill, so something is going wrong in the pipeline here of communications that they're not able to pick up on these things. And I think that's the biggest problem they're suffering from right now, because they just get collapsed on in the kitchen.
The good news is for Columbia is that is the first time we've seen them truly hit a gap. Nubs making the play, making that round even winnable at all, but just not able to bring it entirely back. And now Tamu a 3-0 lead to start off this map 3. Get to go back to the 2 good sites on this map, right? You got Kids, which isn't necessarily as great as the basement site, but I mean, this is a commanding position for Tamu to be in. And I don't
Yeah,
know,
it really
something
is.
big needs to change, right?
It really is a commanding position, because, you know, you at least want a 4-2 here. The defensive side in Oregon
Defenders,
obviously
protect your
is the
bombs from
favored
being
side,
defused by
but
attackers.
there's only so much of a hole you can dig yourself out of if you swap. And with Tamu going up like this, coming off of the win on the last map, there's a good psychological advantage for them right there, right? Like, this has got to be empowering if you're sitting on the side of Tamu Esports. They must love this. And if you're sitting on the side of Columbia, I think, you know, it's a little distressing. You're probably asking yourself, okay, well, what is happening right here that is creating these situations, and what the heck do we have to do to fix it? And I can't blame them for that at all, because if I was in their spot, I'd be a little bit
10
worried
seconds
as
to
well.
go.
So it really, I don't think you can get that one, Chapin. I know you
5
want it,
seconds remaining.
but I don't think you can get it. I think if you're Columbia right now, I'd almost
Attackers
be
must
thinking about
locate
taking
and
the
defuse the
timeout.
bomb.
Honestly, I know it's pretty early in the game for that, but I'd almost be thinking about taking the timeout and trying to settle these nerves a little bit. I mean, we talked about it at the start of the broadcast, Joe. You got coaches there for a reason. You know, get them in, calm everybody down, and pick it back up.
Yeah, especially before it gets too late, right? Like 3-0. If it gets down to 4-0 and they don't take a timeout to salvage something from this attack split, I think it's like, it's wraps, right? I think this round or after this round is where you need to happen. And again, it's shopping, finding an opening kill. You can't keep giving that up. And he's going to look for more very clearly here. But come on, man. Columbia, you've given up this early of a pick way too many times. It's Nubs now going to try and make it quick. And this just looks like a team that is mentally not there at this moment. Tamu taking full advantage. But Columbia College, where has it all gone?
Yeah, a little chalked right now, and I hate to say that, because I hate to be negative towards them, but you do get the sense that they do genuinely feel a little shocked, and I think it's just like, just take the time out, just take the time out and relax a little bit and walk it in. And Intel going and getting those kills, Intel talking some trash in the chat with the question mark right there, really putting the pressure on them right now. And I think they could do well to just kind of chill a little bit, and there it is, the timeout coming down the pipe. Not surprised at all.
Yeah, and it's just been a very dominant 4 rounds. I mean, let's do our math here, right? If we look it up, I think that is 10 kills in 4 rounds for Columbia College as a whole. And just remember that first round went down to a 1v1. So 4 of their kills were in round 1. In the next 3 rounds, 6 kills total. That is not ideal. So Tamu doing a great job on their defenses to really get themselves an advantage and just to take advantage of everything that's going on, right? Giving themselves these rounds. But as it stands, major changes need to come in from Columbia and quick, because anything less than a 4-2 split here, they are on the back foot for their defensive split.
Well, here we go again. back on it, and these are two rounds that are absolute must wins for Columbia College. I mean, genuinely must wins. They have to win them. And the onus is entirely on them. I think
Attackers
that
need
they
to
have
locate
to have
and
discussed
defuse
in
as
that
many bombs
timeout
as
what
they
they can do
can.
differently. I'm sure that the issue of information coverage was covered. It's just a matter of bringing it back into the actual gameplay, right? Like none of the choices that have been made in the setup stage here for Columbia have been particularly bad. Their operator lineups have been, reasonable. They made good choices in how they want to approach their kind of entry spots. I think it's just a sort of mid round issue more than anything else. So hopefully they're able to repair here with what they have.
10
That's the
seconds
hope.
left
That
before
is the
insertion.
hope, for sure. I feel like we've gotten all the way down to map
5
3. I
seconds to
feel like we
insertion.
deserve a little bit of a close one. We deserve this to go
Attackers
down
must
to the
locate
wire.
and defuse a bomb.
And I think Columbia,
Attackers
they've had it
drop the
right. We've
diffuser.
seen flashes.
Attackers
We've seen
recover the
them
diffuser.
be able to find these gaps. Like last round, even right. You had the player walk in. You had Landis walk straight on through trophy door, find those 2 kills, open up the site completely. Right before that, Nubs was able to walk through security, find a couple of kills, open it up. Problem is, those are both 3v5s or 2v5s. When the round is practically over, if they can find that impact earlier in these rounds, that is the position they want to be in. And it's not like they're far, right? They are close to getting it done, but it's just a little bit a step too slow.
Yeah, it is just a step too slow. And here's some good droning from Landis. I mean, giving him a good idea, but somebody needs to be following that up, right? You got to be consistently pushing it. What you want to do is you want those drones in, like what Jason just rolled through, so that you can get kind of a pinch on any of the defenders that are active on the top floor. And this is the kind of thing that's going to put Phil in a dangerous position, right? Essentially moving off alone. There's no real kind of coverage here. And that's the sort of thing that Stringy down here on the Warden is genuinely looking for.
It is. I think Columbia College now, this is where they've struggled, right, throughout this game. As you noted, it has been that mid-round. They've gotten the entirety of the map, minute 15 into the round. They're working the utility. They're working everything they need to, getting the hatches open, getting themselves in the positions they need to. This is perfect. This is the moment that they have been struggling in thus far, this mid-round, whether they need to burn the utility, at least that hallway shield, or just get themselves in the position for the execute. They need to just slow it down, see what they can do to work everything, get it done, and we'll see if they happen. But this is where they've struggled thus far, and so far they haven't given up a pick, Corbec, but still they need to find one if they want to get this execute rolling.
Well, there's Landis doing some good drone work there. They've got an idea where Warden is now, and he'll take the drone down, but at least maybe they can set up a pinch here on Stringy. They've certainly got the pieces in place, assuming there's no defensive cover of Stringy's pillar position, and Stringy just dancing there with that gun sight. Landis in not a bad spot either. Nubs will drop, but Phil does get the kill the other direction. Landis going hard here, knew where the Warden was, but it won't save him. Stringy picks up the kill. Acute Manatee drops on the other side. Phil from the long bomb. Phil rolling in. That's Ghostly who picks up the kill. Now it's just Shopping holding on here with a little bit of backup from Intel 64. Shopping dumps both the impact grenades there to delay, perhaps to try and break the plant. It does not work. Now a post-plant situation here for the members of Columbia College, a situation they desperately need to win, and an absolute annihilation right there by Intel 64. G-Sen, though, holding it together. This is a good angle here from Phil, and Phil shuts Shopping down, and finally, Columbia is on the board.
The execute was brilliant. It was great. It was timed to perfection. They got the kills that they needed. They cleared pillar, got bombed down. Great. Fantastic. On the board. You need one more. They're going to be going back down to the basement, it looks like, as Texas A&M. And if I'm them, at least from that first round, I'm not going to try and let these guys execute with so much time. I'm thinking I'm going to want to press up the map at least a little bit, whether that's looking for that spawn peak that they've found so much success with thus far, or really just shooting a couple drones and falling off, just applying pressure so that Columbia isn't so comfortable just walking through the map and taking everything and having so much time to set up that execute. Because we talked about it, right? At the beginning of Chalet, you give Columbia College the time to set up their pushes, their executes, their little structure. It goes great. If you don't give them the time, you put them off, you make them make the decisions and make audible calls. That's where they've struggled thus far. And Texas A&M not doing enough to put Columbia College off of their game, in Columbia playing to their strengths, able to find that execute, and really their first round.
Well, they put one together
10
here.
seconds
They're
left
gonna
before
have to
insertion.
find two, though, Joe. That's the thing. You really want that 4-2 half. We
Seconds
talked
left
about it
before
earlier.
insertion.
5-1, not good enough. 4-2, barely good enough. But at
Attackers'
least it's better
objective
than
is
the
to locate a bomb
5-1.
and defuse it.
And it's a tall order because we're
Attackers
back to the
dropped the
basement
diffuser.
site again.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
We are indeed, and it's not looking like any changes are coming out
The
from
attacker's
Texas
bomb
A&M.
diffuser
and
has been dropped.
no pressure really anywhere. Look at them; they're giving up the entirety of the map once again. I think Columbia College, the information maybe hasn't been the best thus far, but it's looking like right now, at least where the drones are in so far, they should have the information for the most part to grab map control pretty early once again. So they will have that time to cook up that execute and make it happen. The question is Texas A&M going to do anything in that mid round to apply that pressure to make sure that Columbia isn't so comfortable devising that plan?
Slow opening to this round. Nubs given a lot of real estate right here. In fact, the entire team of Columbia has given an awful lot of real estate, if we're being honest with ourselves, Joe. They've basically taken the entire top floor without any real contest. Stringy there, firing maybe a dulcetory shot at a drone, lets him know that he exists before falling down. And with just over a minute into the round, it's full top floor control here for the members of Columbia College. That bodes well for the rest of their attacking setup. They're going to have to do a lot more than that here if they want to make this stick. Cute Manatee playing tight there on the angle leading into Freezer. Has cam coverage there as well. That's a nasty position for that Legion to be in as the first attacker comes down. Tree Planter does get hit and survives, and Nubs in a dangerous spot will actually pull back and reposition.
Yeah, and I think the damage is kind of coming through, right? Tree Planter just barely survives, and I think a back to execute, at least is what I'm seeing here, because from the positions of this Legion and the position of the Cade with that Mira facing bottom main, that is not a push you want to go for. But Intel 64 finding another kill. That is going to be Landis walking forward right now. The execute's starting to come through a little bit. The kill's not there. Intel 64 finds another one. And again, Columbia College, the execute just falling short as it is completely disjointed. Nobody dropped the hatch. Nobody went down T1. They didn't do anything to support that player. Now a 3v5 to show for it.
Well, not a good start. Jason up on the top, 5-3, 30 seconds left. What are they going to do? They have to do something. A must-win round here for Columbia College. Tamu holding their line. No movement from the defenders here, and there doesn't need to be as Ghostly steps up to the plate. Looks into E-Box. Does not spot the defender on the tight angle, and a Cute Manatee finds yet another kill. He might get one more, and they do. Jason dropped by the shotgun. And though it's a trade, Stringy shuts it down with the SMG-12 and a decisive defensive half here from Tamu.
Wow. Well, Columbia College, again, they had the map control, but the timing, again, that's the second execute on the downstairs that they were just completely disjointed and not getting the timing down. We saw how good it could be. We saw the potential. We saw the vision in that round that they did win when they were able to time it well and able to find those kills and clear out pillar, but that is not something you can do when you're not pushing the two most important positions to clear pillar, which is T1 and the hatch. They didn't do it. The player stays alive. The string even found the last kill of the round. So once again, not good enough from Columbia College. Texas A&M decide that they don't need to make any adjustments, and I guess they didn't need to, right? They went around again. They have 5-1 lead. And they are on their attacks, which is the worst side, but still having a 5-1 lead at this stage in the game, at this stage in the series, it's got to feel really good.
No, it does have to be very good, you must admit, and they just now have to finish off 2 attacking rounds, and that is like an average performance, honestly, on Oregon for an attacking side. You probably get, at least one bite at a tertiary site in there most times. So settle in. I mean, if you're a Tamu fan, this is about as good as it's ever going to get.
Yeah, and I think, at least from what I'm seeing, it looks like they want to be very fast as well. You have the Maroon with the Heartbreach charges to try and take T2 quick. But you have Landis on the Solus, preventing this from happening. And this is what I like seeing from the Solus, right? You have this to try and contest entry points at all, contest that information, make it happen as Intel 64 does find the opening kill. That is Phil going down on the Mozzie, and Intel 64 again on the run out. They are all running out. The aggression from Columbia. What on earth? That is 3 players down within 40 seconds of the round. And look at the confidence coming out now. That is insane from them to do in Columbia College, a 2v5 to try and prevent match point from being a reality.
All right, well, a 2v5 it is. Ghostly
Located by attackers.
running back and forth right now as Shoppin steps up into the entrance. A couple of rounds going down range. Shoppin picks that one up. Easiest kill of his life. And that'll be Jason down in a flawless round for Tamu on the attack. And Columbia might just be out of luck.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one to climb back from. You do have the defense, so not the worst thing. But ever since we got on stream, it feels like this Columbia College team has just lost its gas completely. And I mean, it's a lot to come back from, winning 5 consecutive rounds against a team like Texas A&M, who are shooting the way that they are, playing the way that they are. It's not the easiest job in the world. You don't have your timeout either, not something you can fall back on either. So you got 5 consecutive rounds. Texas A&M just got to win 1, and you think they'll grab one, right? You think it feels like the comeback maybe is not in the cards, at
Attackers
least
need
from
to
what we've
locate
seen.
and
Because
defuse bombs.
so far, from what we've seen on stream, Corbec, 13-3 round count in favor of Texas A&M. Good math for me.
Yeah, it is good math from you. Feeling a little rough here on the side of Columbia. I wish them the best, honestly. And Tamu, I mean, they're just gonna run. I think they're just gonna run this one in. Looking at their defense or their attacking operator lineup, interesting pick with the Ram, by the way, because I feel like on this particular site, the value of the Ram is actually a little bit limited. There's not that much soft destruction, and yeah, they must have thought the same thing as well because they're switching over to an IQ. Not necessarily an operator that is necessary to attack this site, but oh, are they going to try a cheeky little rush here on a 6-1? Kind of why not? That Volcon, though, is going to make
This is
this
gonna be
awfully
tough.
unpleasant. I don't think they quite realize that's there, and it's going to be bad when they do. No, they're going straight in, and those are the easiest kills Ghostly has ever collected. Phil holding the shield right there. You can't blame him for going for it, Joe. You cannot.
No, they want to send us out in style, but that's not going to happen quite yet. You had the Goya, so much utility on that doorway, and a Clash racing it. That was not happening at all. At all. There was no shot. There was no shot. They walked through that Vulcan and made it happen. But maybe giving away a couple picks. Yeah, Texas A&M finding the first one, but looking like the aggression is going to slow down. Columbia College going to back up a little bit. Not going to take it too much for granted thus far, and they do get one back. Still 4 more to go. It's hard to say too much from this because it's kind of a gimmick round, right? And it's a little bit of a gimmick push. Nothing crazy to take away from, but you at least get the mental confidence under your sails that, hey, we did just win a round. Like, we did get one. So that is something that you do grab from this, but still, there are issues from Columbia College that need to be addressed from at least the last round that we've seen, that I'm sure the adjustment will come through. But that confidence, at least Corbec, from these previous rounds, the gunfights, the way that they've been going on, it doesn't even feel like confidence, right? It feels like desperation. And maybe getting a round like this will be really nice for that confidence to be able to make maybe smarter plays and not so desperate plays.
Assuming they don't lose, I guess, because now they're down to 1 gun.
Bomb located by attackers.
Tree Planter here, gonna get another one. There's no way. Tree Planter looks left. That might be the saving grace, honestly. The Clash providing the distraction. G-Sin's got to finish the job. G-Sin finishes the job. And Columbia holds on for another round.
That was intense. That was intense. For a second, I'm like talking about, like, all right, let's win another sales. Columbia, we're back, baby. We're back. Getting the rounds. And then all of a sudden, that got a little too close for comfort. You think if he holds that angle for just a second longer, it might happen. I mean, the health was low. Maybe the Clash does end up taking him down, but still. It's a little too close for comfort, if you ask me.
Little too close for comfort is definitely a good way to look at it. Scared me.
Scared me.
Scared me. You don't like to be the only person left in the situation where it's just
Attackers
the
need to
Clash
locate and
and
defuse
you,
as
because
many
the
bombs as they
Clash can do
can.
some good work, but man, that's a lot of pressure on the other guy to not get caught looking. And we were about half a step away there from the other guy getting caught looking. So
To go back upstairs. Very similar
Attackers have
comp
located a
we are
bomb.
seeing from Texas A&M. Have the Amaru again, Landis on back on that Solus. We'll see if they decide to try and contest that T1 again, or if Solus is going to help them out a little bit more on the runouts from small tower white front door. That
10
could be
seconds
something
left.
that they choose to do and maybe give up. Attic and play more around their setup
5 seconds left
downstairs,
before
or
insertion.
maybe they do much of the same. That's what they've been struggling with thus far, is making those
Attackers
adjustments.
are
We'll see if
moving
they
to
do
defuse
anything
a bomb.
different, as Phil once again prepping these runouts from across. But I'm interested to see where the Solus is. I don't want to know where that guy is. I don't know where that impact is going to come through.
well, if there was ever a time here for Columbia College to make the heroic stand, this is it. This is some Alamo stuff right here from them. They gotta hold out. Of course, now I think of it, the guys at the Alamo did end up losing, so maybe that's not what they want to be thinking of. And they are playing the Texans too, so maybe they don't want to think of that again. I don't know. We'll find another applicable applicable historical event at a later date. Shop in here, blowing open the window into the upstairs over by the foosball table. Tree planter now rolling the drone up to say hello. I think just back checking, making sure nobody's going to sneak up behind them while they make this entry here into attic. And honestly, looking at it from the perspective of tree planter, I didn't see any defenders really covering it, but I think maybe, just maybe, Gson is in a position where they can help.
Yeah, and it's a much more direct take from Texas A&M. Not really trying to take as much control, I don't think, as before. And now that is 2 kills directly in the way. Intel 64, another opening pick. Nubs does get one back once again. Slow map here, but was their impact player on Chalet. We'll see if he can get it going and try and launch a little bit of a comeback. But right now, a disadvantage in the round. And looking at it quick, Tree Planter from Attic does find Nubs. It's a 4v2. Ghostly and Landis gonna have to make a big play to get this one back, as Texas A&M looking to put that chokehold on the site and a chokehold to finish up the rest of this series.
Landis swinging a little early, holding that pixel angle, wants the kill. Landis firing some dulcetory rounds, forced to fall back deeper into the site. Ghostly and Landis trying to hold the line. Here comes Intel, smoke grenade out. And that might be the opening that Intel was looking for. It's a bit of a bait, honestly, by the looks of it. Intel catches Landis looking the wrong direction. And it's just Ghostly now, who can see through the smoke, but can't see Tree Planter creeping up the outside. And Tamu shuts it down. Columbia College eviscerated. And a great run back across 2 maps there by Texas A&M.
Yeah, and that is 7-2 in a row. 14-4 on the opponent's map pick and that map 3 decider. Texas A&M looks like the beast was awoken the second we got on the stream. And I mean, they looked great. I mean, I don't think that's like a, where these guys just playing well or like anything like that. I just think the guns were shooting, the guns were firing, they were playing well together. I think they were just playing some really good siege, and I think Columbia just wasn't able to adjust to that at all. They weren't really, I guess, prepared to make changes into their game plan and really make some big changes. Nothing really happened there, and Texas A&M was just, at least from what we were seeing on the stream from these maps 2 and 3, were on the front foot the entirety of this time.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. It just, obviously the first map, Columbia came out swinging. They weren't able to carry that magic on. I do wonder if the Chalet was a bit of a mental shock for them. And then when they came over to Oregon, they just, weren't able to recover. But I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes. It's early in the season. And I think the issues that Columbia was facing, Joe, these are not insurmountable issues. I think just intel gathering in and of itself would make things infinitely better for them. And that's something that I'm sure they're going to be working on in the future.
Yeah, that is a conversation we were having behind the scenes. It felt like at least Columbia didn't really have. It may not have even been that they lacked the ability to make those decisions. It may have just been, the lack of information to make those decisions in the
Yes.
first place. And that could have been a very big thing. I think we kind of noted that as well. At least off stream, it wasn't something that came up too much, while this game was going on. But I think you're 100% right, and I think the Solus obviously prevented that a little bit, at
Yeah.
least on Chalet. But I just think on Oregon, it just felt like, at least with the entries that were going on, it felt like with how they were clearing the map, there was just not enough droning being done at the time it needed to be, right? They droned maybe a little bit too early before the execute was going on, maybe showing where the positions of everyone was, but it wasn't
Mhm.
like a, best time of doing it, because it's like, all right, these people can move. They were caught off guard on their executes a few
Yeah.
times. The timing wasn't always great. So not having that full information on where the utility is, where these players are completely positioned to get the best execute going, yeah, it just may have been a huge issue. And maybe that wasn't the problem on Cafe. Maybe on Cafe,
Maybe.
they had that information. That wasn't something that was able to go wrong. But obviously, that's not
Well,
information
the
that we
big
have to
guns
spill.
there of Texas A&M delivering the victory tonight, and a rough one for Columbia College, but a celebratory moment there if you're a Texas A&M fan. That'll unfortunately do it here for us tonight for R6 in the NECC. I've been Corbec. Alongside me has been Joe. A big thank you, of course, to our production staff, without whom none of this would be possible. And while we do say goodbye tonight, we remind you to go ahead and check in tomorrow for more NECC esports action. But for now, from all of us here at the NECC, have a wonderful evening and thank you for watching.